Let me turn this on. Hey, Susan, Yvette, Lynette, Janelle. Hey, Dwan, Francis. How you guys doing on today? You guys already know what I'm eating. Hey, Chiquita, Sandra, Bernadine, Christine, Tonette, Stephanie, Dwan, Francis. Hey, Tina, Trish, Janelle. If you guys have the ability to watch from both platforms, YouTube and Facebook, please do so. I have one more piece. Yes, you can. Chiquita. Absolutely. Hey, Tanji. Hey, Cheryl, my girl. Happy Sunday. Hey, Penny Wenny. Hey, Mabel. Hey, Nikki. I don't know how many of you guys were here for my last live. Not my last live. The live before that. Why I look so pale in YouTube? I'm not understanding. The live before that, where I didn't really have, I don't know what the title was, but I did touch base on this topic that I just mentioned here, which I know is pretty strange for a lot of you. Thank you, Janelle. Like and share the live, please. You swam over to YouTube. Thank you. So I know a lot. Gosh, I look pale on YouTube. I don't know what's going on. Um, I know a lot of you weren't there at that live where I kind of touched on this topic that you guys see here today, that no two children are from the same parents. And for those of you who weren't on that live, matter of fact, anyone who was on that live, please let me know when you remember that I was speaking about no two children have the same parents. Excuse me. Penny said, Lena, we made homemade watermelon sherbet. Ooh, and we made it. Oh God, Penny, I gotta call you. I gotta figure out how to do that. And we made it with cantaloupe, pineapple, sherbet as well. Oh my gosh, so I'm gonna call you because if I can have freaking watermelon sorbet, I mean, really, don't be tempting me with a good time. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for your support too. Okay, so Susan and Tanga, and Tina was there. Okay. Good. Well, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with it today for those of you who were there and those of you who weren't there. Um, oh, good, Tyann. Okay. Yeah, because someone had asked a question and it was ironic because I was going to do a live on that evening. And she ended up answering the question. And of course, I can't resist a logical answer. But and instead of me saying, well, catch my live later, I don't like doing that to people. If I have something to give you and you need something right now, I'm going to give it to you right now, even though it was something that I was going to talk about later. I didn't want to hold it over anybody's head and say, well, you got to follow me later and keep your notifications if you want to find out the answer to that. I don't do stuff like that. Not that it's wrong for anybody else to do it. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes with that. I'm just saying I don't like to do that because I may not even go live because I'd be promising to go live and I don't go live and then you may never get the answer from me. So whatever I have to give, I make sure I give. If it comes up, it comes out. Yes, please like and share my live. Please like and share my live. I appreciate it. Please like and share the live. No, and you answered my question, and I appreciate it. Right, Tina. Right, it was Tina. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. I know I went into details even then, but I want to go into it even more, even when it comes to twins, even when it comes to single parents. And so, um, hey, Keita. And thank you guys. Thank you, Tina, for returning. But yeah, it was a topic that I wanted to talk about. And it was actually a topic too that I was going to do a reel on. And I might just go ahead and end up doing a reel on it also, just to spread my wisdom in regards to that. And, so everybody can kind of have it. Thank you guys for the hearts. I appreciate it. Please send up hearts. If you can't do nothing else, hearts are free, likes are free, hugs are free. All those good things are free. Hey, Keisha. I see I got my bug swapper right there. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Thank you so much for the hearts, guys. I appreciate it. It encourages me and let me know that you guys are paying attention. All right. So yeah, this is a wisdom nugget. Now, hey Laverne. Good afternoon, Liz. So this is a topic that I talk about primarily in my coaching, my relationship coaching programs. My relationship coaching programs are primarily about situations within marriages, just family dynamics, right? And oftentimes when I am working out certain issues with my clients, it typically goes back to their childhood. It goes back to their hey Michelle. It goes hey Arlene. It goes back to their family dynamics. Need to show have more. It only takes a second. Oh, thank you. Hey Sin. Thank you for my YouTube family. You guys are on here. Thank you so much. So hey, hey Margaret. As people come in, I want to address them, but I don't want to stall you guys too much longer. So, like I was saying, I often talk about this particular topic. This topic app comes up, and this is my explanation in helping my clients work out their trauma, right? Or their painful experiences, because most of our painful experiences derive from our childhood, right? And whether you're a single parent, a single parent, a single child that would, have siblings, it doesn't matter. And I don't mean single parents, I mean single children, children who were born with no siblings, and versus children who have many siblings, okay? It always, hey Tanja, it always goes back. Hey Sin, it always go back to a person's childhood. And even when I'm not coaching families, right? Even when I'm not doing relationship coaching, I'm oftentimes this topic still comes up of how a person feels and how they show up in their adult life, typically and always derives from how they were raised as children. And so, in order for me to heal a person's trauma, or rather help them heal their own trauma by giving them a different perspective, part of that is the rubber band effect. And I call it the rubber band effect. I call it the arrow effect. Anything that you have to pull back, you take a rubber band and you go like this, right? And in order for it to catapult forward, you need to you need to pull it back. So for me, pulling back means going into your past, going into your childhood trauma, right? So because people become stuck and they're unable to move forward in their lives in a healthy way. They're unable to go past a certain point, working for children and family services for the 17 years that I did, it was so much family dysfunction. And let me just tell you guys, most of your bad experiences, hey Deetra, most of your bad experiences are all a misunderstanding. I believe of nearly everything in life that has caused you to associate some type of, or caused you to feel some type of pain from that thing, is all a big misunderstanding. Life is a big misunderstanding. Life is a big misunderstanding. Hey Mona. And so I want to get into what I mean by there are no two children who were born of the same parents. And I'm not talking about mother and father as if it's a two-family household. That is included. What I'm speaking about, even if it's a single parent, as my mom was a single parent, she had 6 children. None of us had the same mother. None of us have the same mother, and I'm going to explain that, but I want to make it really clear what I'm talking about. And I want to make them statements really profound. No two children were born from the same mother or the same father or from the same parents growing up in the household. Hey, Lena. Okay. And here's why. When I'm dealing with my clients and they're telling me, and I have to go back into their childhood and see what their family dynamics was like, see why they're behaving certain kind of ways, start dealing with their cognitive distortions. And like I said, everything is a misunderstanding. I often go back to, how people may have felt like their parents favored one child over the other, or how your child, or how a person may have felt um unappreciated in comparison to another sibling, whether it's an older sibling or a younger sibling, right? So you may say, okay, I have 3 children. I had 3 children. I had a set of twins and a son, set of twin girls and a son, right? And none of my children have the same experience of me. They would all tell you 3 separate experiences that they had with me, how they perceive me. And even though the core of it is the same, but every single experience was different. Growing up as a whole, growing up as a whole, right? And you know why that is because they all got different versions of me. They got different versions of me, right? And so when people come to me and they don't, and they're feeling unappreciated and they're feeling unloved by their parent, and their explanation is that, or their reasoning is that their mother favored their older sister over them, or favored their younger sister over them, or favored their brothers over them, or their father favored this person over that person, over that sibling, right? That's a complete misunderstanding. And my explanation is that to that is my answer to that is that just as we grow and we evolve as time goes on, I'm not the same person I was last year. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. Oh, that's okay, Belicia. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Okay. And each year, as I am on this earth, I evolve and I become a different person. Because as you get older and as you go through life and go through experiences, we grow and we learn. And because we learn some things, we do things differently, right? And because of that, thank you, Keisha. And because of that, the first child is going to have a completely different experience, or is going to or is going to experience a completely different version of you than the second child. And the second child is going to experience a completely different version of you than the third child, right? Because we grow. Because we grow. Now, the first child, I always say, and I hate to use this term, but I use it anyway because it's the best scenario that I can give, the best explanation, the best word that fits the circumstance. Most first children, not most, all first children are guinea pigs, meaning not in a bad way, meaning that that parenthood is tested out mostly with our first child, because we have no rule book. We don't know what to do, even though we've seen our parents do it, even though we've seen our ancestors do it, even though it's been from the beginning of the world that people have been parenting. Because people have different personalities when they are born, no two children are alike. There is no rule book. There is no instructions on how to raise that child. So with our first child, right, Renee, if you're not involved, then what are you doing? My parent didn't change. They are all teaching, learning child. So the reason why I say that the first child is a guinea pig is because as we're trying to figure out how to deal with this specific, unique individual, right? And it's our first child, we are transitioning into parenthood. We don't know how to do that, even though we've had great examples of it. We have basic surface examples of that, right? But the obligations that it takes to raise a child, to bring a child into this world, and then to raise that child from the time it was born. I don't care if you let the child go at 5 years old, 6 years old. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who actually had children and has some time with their child. It is very hard. You have to change your life. You have to adjust your life. You have to make sacrifices. You don't know how to deal with this child. The child can come out with a bunch of colic, and you got to figure out how to deal with that, and also try to how to figure out how not to get angry and feel frustration. So and then as our children grow up, listen, our first child, they get the worst version of us because at that moment we had just flipped over into parenthood. So we're figuring out life, and they are suffering the repercussions or the consequences of our ignorance. Nikki Childs, they suffer the consequences of our ignorance, right? They suffer. My mom happened to have 6 children. So by the time she got to me, because I was the fourth one, I didn't get what what my older 3 siblings got. I didn't get the harshness of parenting. I didn't get the discipline that my older 3 siblings have received. I didn't get that. I had a completely different experience of my mother. Because by the time she got to the fourth child, she had already learned some things, so she had some more patience with me. And by the time she got to the fifth and the sixth child, they never even got a spanking. I was the last one to get a spanking, but I got spankings as I became a teenager because I was rebellious. As my sister, being the first child, have gotten a spanking when she was younger because she was dealing with a person that had less patience. Hold on, guys, I need some air. And let me know if you guys are affected with the air, because I got my AC on and I don't want it to mess it up. And if it is, I'll just go get my fan. The first child is like on the job training, right? Says Angela Isaac. Yep. And Simone Foster said, yes, I began at 21. It was learning experience. Right. Hey, Angela. Melinda said, my grandmother always told me some kids require more attention than the other child. And we think it's favoritism, but it's not. Right. That has a lot to do with it. So because we don't know how to parent, or because we're trying to really figure it out, because again, we think we know what we're doing, but it's when that child start exhibiting certain personality characteristics that we have to learn how to adjust, right? And we have to learn patience. So our first child gets the worst part of us, right? Now, the second child that you gave birth to, whether you had 2 parents in a home, if you had 2 parents in a home, that second child, you being a second child, Patty, was not born of the same parents as your first child, as your older sibling. It was not, because they got a different version of them. So once that first child is born, okay, unless and it doesn't even matter if it's, give birth and then you get pregnant again 9 months later. It doesn't matter. Even 9 months apart, you're still getting a different parent, because that parent has to grow. And that parent, just like we do, go through different phases of our lives, right? It doesn't stop. We don't stay the same person. If we stayed the same person, then everyone would be born of the same parents. We would all have the same exact experience with our parents. And our parents would have the same exact experience with every one of us. But we know that's not different. One child requires more than the other child, right? One child requires more than the other child. Patty says, I was second child, but only daughter. And yes, I was a rebellious teen. Yeah. And it's because you had a different experience. Now, I had a question on my last live where someone said, well, what about if, because, I had a sibling that where we were born by this, where we were raised by the same parents in the same household, except I was successful and the other one went to drugs. And my answer was, it wasn't that you were better than that one. It's just that you guys, because the person asked, how could that, like, how could we have had different experiences? Because when you were born, you got a different version of your parents, whether it's your mother or your father or both. And by the time the second child is born, that's another two people. They're not the same people they were last year. They're not the same people they were 5 years prior to that. And I hope this helps with a lot of, this should help with some confusion in regards to childhood. I was the firstborn, Patty said. This is on YouTube. I was the firstborn girl on my dad's side in 100 years, so I was spoiled. You're right. Okay, and so by the time we get to our second child, right, we have become a different person. Why? Because we have already went through some things with that first child, even if it's stair steps. Even in a year, I'm not the same person I was last year. None of us are, even though a lot of us exhibit the same types of behavior. You can't help but learn some things along the way, even if it appears as if people are not learning. Trust me, they're learning some things. Okay? So you become a different person. Not totally. Your morals may not change, or your morals may change. You may be on your first child and you were very promiscuous. You see? And you're bringing people in and out of that child's life. And then you get to your second child, and now you have outgrown that. Now you become a different person, and that second child doesn't have that same experience with you. That second child gets to experience a different part of you, a part that now has some type of morals, right? And so then you get to your third child. That third child also has two different parents. So that's what I mean, guys, when I say that no two children are born of the same parents. When people think that, there's favoritism going on in households, when people think that, oh yeah, you beat me, I got beatings for everything, but Sally, she never got beatings, and they think it's favoritism, just like someone in the chat said. It's not favoritism, it's a misunderstanding. You don't understand that person, that the person that you were born to has changed. And now your sibling got a different version, possibly a better version, or possibly a worse version. And then when another child comes, here's another version of the parents. So yes, you're in the same household, but you have to understand that each child is different, and each child is going to experience you in a different way, according to your growth, according to your experience in life. And oftentimes this misunderstanding causes grief, it causes pain, it causes trauma, because there's nothing worse than feeling rejected or less than by your parents from your perspective, because you may have been a first child and see your second sibling getting everything, and everybody's attention is going towards that second child. Now you have been kicked out as the baby of the family. Whatever attention you was getting, you're not getting anymore, and you call it favoritism. Or your mom had a boyfriend or got married, and now they got this child, and now this child has everything, and you call it favoritism. It's not favoritism, it's a misunderstanding. You got a different parent. And the third child, the second child is worst. The second child of any family has one of the worst experiences as a sibling, because the second child doesn't get the respect of a first child. And once the second child is there, if a third child comes, now you have somebody kicked out. Like, you're no longer the baby. Now you're not sharing attention. You got the oldest child, because everyone remembers the first child, and now everyone sees the youngest child, but the middle child is left scraggling the fence. It's a whole different experience. They don't get to be the center of attention, and they don't get to be the one that has the most responsibility, or the one, or the first, because everybody knows, that first child is something special, right? And so I had twins. So you would think, good afternoon. Oh, thank you so much, Buttercup. You guys can like and share this live. I would appreciate it. Like and share the live, please. So I had twins, right? So I'm going to explain this in a way for all those who have twins, because you may be saying, well, what about twins? Twins are born at the same time, so they have to have the same parents. No. They have the same parents in a sense. But again, you're dealing with two separate human beings, right? So the experiences are still going to be different. When you're dealing with twins, you're still dealing with a child that's either, okay, so for instance, for me, my son was first. 5 years later, my twins came. 6 years after me, yeah. 5 years later, my twins came. Now, within that twin categories, I was really pregnant with triplets, lost one. Now, within that twin category, one of them had to be the second child, and one of them had to be the third child, right? The first twin, and one had to be the second twin, which would have made her the third twin, the third child, right? So the one that was born first, which is Biscuit's mom, she's the middle child. She's the middle child because her sister, who was pulled out after her, is the youngest. Right? And there you have that middle and youngest, category, because within families, the categories matter, whether you're a first child, a second child, or a third child. That matters. And if you guys notice around you, I don't know if you have it in your family or notice any other family, when you get to the 6th and 7th child, them children are spoiled. They spoiled rotten. They don't have nothing of what you had. They have everything that you didn't have. Right? So you still have that middle child and that third child syndrome. So for me, my twins, the oldest one, she ended up being the middle one because my son came before her. So she was more needy because she didn't find her place. It's something about that second place child where they're misplaced. They don't, they're straddling the fence. They don't have a place. You know what I'm saying? And so she was more needy because of her being the second child, because the other one was born a preemie. So she got a little bit more attention, right? And so the other one, my other daughter, Karina, which is the youngest of the twin, she has a completely different experience of me. A better version, by the way. A better version, okay? She has the best version because she's a third child. My son has the worst version because he's the first child. My middle child is emotional. Okay? She's emotional. She has more needs, emotional needs. So because of their needs and because of their birth placement, they both experience different versions of me. Does that make sense to you guys? And then we're going to talk about the single child syndrome. So you may say, well, Lena, what about the single child? What about the child that doesn't have any siblings? Thank you guys for the hearts. Send up some more hearts, please. What about the child that doesn't have any siblings? How could that go wrong? Well, it can go very wrong because now you're dealing with a child that still is a guinea pig and remains a guinea pig, right? There's no other children to make that parent get any better. There's no other children to make that parent get any better. If that, the more children your parents have, or the more children you have, good morning, Lois, the more children you have, the better you'll be as a parent, because you only get better with more children, because more children bring you more experiences. They bring you more challenges, right? And then after a while, you start learning how to weigh your daggone, I'm going to weigh my apples and oranges. I'm not, you know what I mean? You have to learn how to juggle stuff. Okay. Patricia said, I'm the baby. Sure. My girl said, that makes sense. Right. Okay. So with an only child, even though they may seem like they got it all, we all seen kids who were the only child. Like, girl, you had all of that. You had a bike. You had a computer. That I grew up poor. If I see a single child, anytime I saw a single child, they was spoiled. They had everything. So you would think, what could possibly go wrong with their lives? Well, number one, they remained a guinea pig because the mother doesn't have any other children to experiment with, to get better with. Okay. She doesn't have any more teaching at all. She's stuck with that child and learning from that child, or learning how to parent that child. Okay. For some reason, that second and third child, when you have a few children, it makes a difference in your personality. It makes a difference in your experience. You begin to know what's important, what's not. The way I discipline my son, I didn't discipline my children, my daughters. Made him think that I favored them over him. Well, why they didn't get what I got? Well, because I learned and I grown. But try telling a child that, they're like, no, you just like them better because they're females and you're a female. These are the explanations. It's like, really? You know what I mean? Felicia said, I'm a middle child. I became more independent than my siblings. Not as much time was spent with me than them. I was the only one fighting for my rights. Right. As a middle child, you have to fight for your rights. That's one of the positions. Good afternoon, Debster. Right. And so with a single child, they have the worst of a parent, because again, there is no other children that came behind them to help mold the mother or shape her to become more effective in her parenting. She was stuck with that one lesson. And imagine only being stuck with one lesson in life. Imagine that, only having to learn from this one thing right there, instead of having variations where you can see the difference and you can kind of, learn, sharpen your tools, your parenting tools. Imagine never being able to sharpen your parenting tools. Cheryl, my girl, said there's a 9-year difference between me and my daughter. Between my daughter, number one, and my son, number two. I definitely parent them differently. Their character and personalities are different, right? And they experience two different versions of you. Believe. Oh, I already read that. Hello, Linda. If you guys like and share this live, are you guys sharing it? Please, somebody else can use this. Life is a misunderstanding. I'm here to clear it up. And so, that one child, when you have a single child, that child is stuck with that parent, never having learned anything else about parenting. They learn from each other. And oftentimes, my son had one daughter, he passed when she was 11. I worry about her. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Tyrone. They have to learn from each other, right? And that one child don't have any other siblings to learn from either. That one child doesn't have any siblings to console them. That child doesn't have any other siblings to say, oh, she treated you that way too, especially if you're a poor mother. And I mean poor mother. There are bad mothers, okay? There are bad mothers. And granted, not bad mothers, bad parenting. And granted, bad parenting comes from what you have grown up to believe, your own distortions, your own misunderstandings with your parents, and your own anger and frustration, and you having never healed from some things in your own life. That's what comes from that's what bad parenting comes from. But when you have a child, and a single child needs a grandmother. They need a grandmother, because grandmother's already been through it. And grandmothers have patience, the patience of Job, the patience that the parent will never have, especially if she's never expanded her experience past her one child. She doesn't have, the skill set. And especially if that child has been, damaged as a child and never healed themselves. So now you have that one single child dealing with that mother who has never healed from her own trauma. And that one child doesn't have any other siblings to relate to relate her misfortune or her lack of attention or her feeling lack of love, especially if you have a dysfunctional parent. Especially if you have a dysfunctional parent. We all seen some dysfunctional parents on the internet, right? We all seen some very dysfunctional parents on the internet, right? Things that you would say that you would never ever do to your child. That's who those them single children are stuck with. If they're stuck with a dysfunctional parent, they have a harder time in life than most people, even though they're the single child, even though they got everything. Oh, they got everything. Most children that only have that don't have no siblings get everything. But they have the hardest time in life because if their parent is dysfunctional, they have to heal from that. Susie Reed said, I am the middle of five, first girl. I didn't grow up in the house with my siblings. I raised by my family and had a daughter that was 40 plus years older than me. So I was raised as an only child, but I knew who my birth family was and played with my siblings daily. Then we went home. Also, Suzanne's also providing the grandmothers are good also. Right. Providing the grandmothers are good because I've seen some toe up. Listen, if you see a toe up parent, then she's a toe up grandparent too. Let's just be clear. If she's a toe up parent, if she has bad parenting, she is a bad grandmother too. Not all grandmothers are good. Thanks for pointing that out. Not all grandmothers are good. Okay. But nonetheless, that child has to deal with the dysfunction of her parent. Never having anyone save her, never having anyone to relate to that pain to, never have, feeling like, you shouldn't, like, they even regret you being born. All this dysfunction. All this dysfunction. So when I say that no two children are born of the same parents, that's what I'm referring to. No two children has the same parents at all. What's wrong, Monica? What do you feel is wrong? What do you feel is wrong, Monica? Speak now, forever hold your peace, respectfully. Y'all put in the chat what y'all think about that theory, about that idea. Happy Sunday, Janice. Monica, I want you to tell me what do you think is wrong. Oh, okay, Tyann. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm telling you, everything in life is a misunderstanding. Most things that are hurtful, it's all a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Monica said it's not worth it on my good Sunday. I'll catch you next time. Okay. Suit yourself, honey. Keep your Sunday good. So that's how That's the clarity that I give my coaching, not my coaching, my clients. Right, Angela. That's the coaching that I give my clients to some degree, because it's a lot more than that. But we always have to start there, because misunderstandings, I mean, feeling having bad experiences with your parents, there's an explanation for all of that. It's not an excuse. It doesn't excuse the poor behavior. It doesn't excuse the poor behavior that you've experienced. That's not what it is. But there's an explanation for everything. And if we consider the explanation behind people's experiences, especially our family dynamics, our parents, then it would ease the burden of injustice, that you've been feeling all along in association with your parents, feeling like you've been rejected, feeling like they love one child over you, feeling like this child got that and you didn't get anything, all those things. You're welcome, Keisha. She said, you are right on point. You're welcome. It's just, you know what? It's something to think about. Where's it at? Right there. Something to think about. Well, Facebook. Yeah, see? Something to think about. YouTube. Something to think about. Of course, everyone didn't grow up in this way. Those are explanations for poor experiences in households. And in one sense, Monica, you said that you didn't have time on a good Sunday. But since you're speaking, it's as simple as that. If that's what you're feeling, that's okay. Let's talk about it. This is something to think about, honey. That's all. If you don't believe that two siblings have different parents, you're not expected to believe that. I'm a mindset coach. I deal with human and spiritual psychology. I know how the mind works, and I deal with family and relationships, and everyone that I have coached, they understood this, and it caused them to see what was really happening beneath the surface with their parents. These are things that even parents, as parents wouldn't naturally know. The only reason why I know is because I study human and spiritual psychology, and I'm a master at quantum and metaphysics. So I'm a mindset coach. So you may not believe that this is how that people weren't raised like. I don't think you understand where I'm coming from. Maybe you haven't heard me from the beginning. Because if you know yourself that you have grown, if you have a child right now, just hypothetically speaking, for argument's sake, Monica, if you have a child right now, or say you had a child 5 or 10 years ago, right? You mean to tell me if you have a child right now, you're the same person? Impossible. Human nature is to grow. That's what human nature is. We grow. That's why all of our physical senses are pointed outward, forward. That's why we walk forward. That's why we drive forward. That's why we're always looking for something more. It's in our nature. The energy of a human, of a soul, is to grow, even if it appears that you're not growing. Along the way, you have learned something different. So every little thing that you learn changes you to some degree. So the child that you had 10 years ago can't possibly be raised by the same person you was 10 years ago, because you're not that person anymore. The same way your child is not that person anymore. Your child is 10 years old. You see what I'm saying? So maybe you don't understand what I'm speaking about. Angela says, I'm glad I was able to express my feelings to my parents, and they understood and made it better. Those were parents that was ready to grow, had open minds, and understood, the freedom that's required when raising their children. The freedom of speech. So your parents was already, if they did that for you, they was already trying to grow. And that in and of itself is growth. My daughter is a single child, and this makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, it's hard. The more children we have, the more we grow. My mother had 6. She was not the same with my sister that she was with me. I have a whole different experience of her. By the time she got to me, she was tired of hitting. And I don't mean, like abusing, back in the day, we got spankings, we got it. By the time she got to me, she was tired. She didn't have no more strength to do all of that. Okay. So she picked her battles. Gloria said, thinking real deep for loving this topic. Okay. Diane said, you never really helped me understand my siblings. I was the second child. Well, Diane, again, the second child is always trying to find their place. The second child, in my perspective, from my experience, is always misplaced to some degree. The attention is always on the first child because that's the first child, and everyone perceived that the first child was a special child because everyone said, when I had my first child, that was a God's gift and all this other stuff, right? And then you have your third child, right? And the third child is a baby. And the more children they have after that, more attention goes down the line. And you're kind of stuck right here trying to find your way, trying to find your peace. So a second child always struggles a little bit more than the other children. Now, if there's six children, it's different. My mom has six. So it wasn't only my sister. My brother came after her. So there were two olders. There was actually three older children than me. But the third brother, my brother Jamie, who passed away, he didn't get it the way my brother and my sister got it. My brother and my sister got it because they were close in age when they were born. And one was a male, so he was the protector of the family because there was no men in our home. And my sister had the responsibility of keeping all of us in line, And so she had way more responsibility as a child, as a teenager, because of my mother being a single mother and having to work. And so she had a worse experience with my mom. But as my mom gave birth to more and more children, by the time she got to me, it wasn't all the way settled. I gave her kind of hell. I mean, I didn't give it a kind of hell like a lot of people do. Like, it wasn't sex, it wasn't drugs and any of that stuff. I just always had my own mind, my own way of thinking. And so I tested everything. And I took my chances and I contemplated my punishments and made sure my punishments was worth it. If that make any sense. So I'm the kid that kind of gave her a little bit of hell. My other kids, my other siblings didn't. My YouTube family's quiet over here. Speak up, guys. Laverne, you're so right. Monica, this is not church. What do you mean sermon? What the hell are you talking about? You're just miserable. I thought you were having a good Sunday. Have your Sunday and walk out the door. The reason why I don't block these people, y'all, is because even though they don't like me, because they come over here not liking me, so I can say, I can say praise the Lord. They'll be like, oh, who are you to praise the Lord? It could be any damn thing. They making up reasons not to like me, but they're hearing me. I'm a seed sower. That's why I don't block them. I want them to stick around and continue to hear what I say, because after she leaves off of my live, she's going to think about what I say, because what I say is meaningful. Everything I say is meaningful. And remember what I say, guys, it rains on the wicked and the righteous. So I give my gifts to the wicked and the righteous, if there's such a thing. I'm not the same person I was when I started watching this live. Right. Because everything you learn makes you grow. It makes you grow. Since then, Christ, I bless you and your family. Thank you so much, Keon. Audrey said, I know so much more now than I did when I had small children. I try to instill it into my grandchildren now. Yeah, with your grandchildren, you get a second chance. Hey, YouTube. I don't know what's going on. Let me see if this, because I don't see anything moving here. Stuck on one comment. Let me check. Yvette said I'm the fourth child, and my mother told me she raised me differently. Yeah. Okay, I just suspended Monica. She didn't know how to end her misery, so I ended it for her. Hmm. Angelic Angela said, "You so right, Lena. I'm the baby of 7 kids. My mother was tired by the time she got to me, so I was." You see, you see, and imagine the first sibling. Y'all had complete different experiences. Okay, baby, y'all had complete different experiences. Complete different experiences. And this is what I want people to understand. And like I said, this is one of the things that I cover when it comes to healing trauma with any individual. With any individual. Your childhood has everything to do with whatever you're suffering today, whatever you're unable to move past today. So in all of my coaching, I always go back. I always go back because there's always some level of darkness back there where they feel insignificant, or their parents, cussed them out and made them feel worthless while they had other children that they praised. And although it was wrong for that to happen to you, and it's sad that that happened to you, there's always an explanation for it. And that's why I said that they are like, life is a misunderstanding. Because if you had an explanation, not that that would negate the experience, because reality is reality. If your parent treated you like crap and she treated another child like a god, that's your rightful experience. You have a right to your story, and your story is true. However, in order to heal from that, you have to understand that you were dealing with a different person, and that it had nothing to do with favoritism. It had nothing to do with because she remarried and got a husband, and now that's their child, and now she's treating that child differently than she. It has nothing to do with that. They don't even know why the real reason why they do that. I have taught many people who have children, help them understand. Not taught, I help them understand their painful experiences in regards to their children. I help them through their pain and their trauma just by explaining to them and having them understand who they were at every given stage of pregnancy, and the transformation that takes place during your life as you progress and grow older, and the lessons that you refuse to learn that's responsible for the stuck state that you're in. You can never win. You're a Gemini, your mom's a Leo. You can never win. Good afternoon, Sharon Benz. Annette said, would you say that in a relationship, both parties need to be open to growth within the relationship? They should be. But a lot of people don't understand why they come together with relationships. A lot of people think that, and a lot of you believe that you get to pick the love of your life, and that's the icing on the cake. That it's about love, and it's about making love, and it's about being in love, and it's about just love. No, that's a surface physical perspective of a relationship. But when you're dealing with metaphysics, which is spiritual mind and a spiritual purpose, because there's a deeper purpose for relationships than you perceive. If you don't understand what a relationship, what two people come together for, really, on the spiritual back end, then you're not going to grow. You're going to take someone's you're going to take someone's so-called imperfection as an offense, as opposed to when that person shows up and causes some kind of disturbance in your spirit because now you're butting heads. That lesson or that person or that relationship is more about you than it is about them. They came to show you who you are, basically. So if you lack patience and that person keeps testing your patience, that's the lesson that's in that for you. But you think it's about romance. You think it's about making love. You think it's about being in love. And that's the ego. And so you can't get past anything else. You're not seeing that that person is showing you who you are. When you say, oh, I'm so patient, I can have patience. Well, patience is tested with fire. And the fire is having someone to test your pace, to push it a little further, to show you that you are not as patient as you think you are. And you need to work in that area of your life. Because if you ever plan on having peace in your life, you have to find a way to have patience. You have to understand that life is a lesson. And that every test failed is a promotion denied. And that person's going to keep on bringing up things in you to show you who you are. And you're never going to get it unless you get tired and you say, you know what? Like how we do our children, I got to find a way to be good with my child. So I have to start thinking outside the box. I have to start being a little bit more patient. I have to start allowing my child to be whoever they want to be so I can have peace in my life. In other words, you let go of the grievances that you are feeling in reference to somebody else. And you allow them to grow at their own pace. So that's the real reason for relationships, is to show you who you are. The real reason for even parenting. For parenting, you know, you may be a holy roller and think that being gay is the sin of the world. And you're going straight to hell. And what happens with a lot of people who think that way? They end up having gay children. To correct them, right? So now you're forced to love that child or either get rid of that child. And the sad thing about getting rid of a child, because there's a lot of people, especially back in the day, that got rid of their gay children because they didn't believe in it. And it was like, oh my God, you're going to hell and I cannot be of the devil, so you have to go. Right? And what ends up happening? Now it's a gay cousin. Now it's another gay child. They can't get away from the gay community. Everywhere they turn, they're running into somebody gay. That's life teaching you and showing you what you have to work on within yourself. That's what's happening there, guys. I got rid of her, guys. You're welcome, Tanya. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Love you too, Rick. Stephanie Demus said, I'm watching YouTube on my TV and don't know how to comment. It's okay. I'm listening. Don't worry about it. Listen, your presence is enough. Does that make sense, guys? YouTube. Vicky says, my dad was in the home, but allowed mom to make all the decisions. When she said no, I'd ask him. He sent me back to her. That's what you call teamwork. where people agree. Angela said, and they end up needing the gay child because the straight ones won't help them. Angela, you know that's right, child. Relationships are not what they seem or what they appear to be. Thelma said, I was late and I don't know what the subject is. The subject is what it says on the caption. It says no two children were born into the same family, into the same parents. No two children. I don't care if it was a single parent and she gave birth to two children. Both children did not have the same mother. And the reason behind that is because people, and I'm gonna put this brief so you can just get a gist of what we're speaking about, and then you can watch the replay. Typically, because people grow, we all grow, and none of us are the same that we was yesterday, last week, last year, or 5 years from now. So the reason why children turn out different and have different experiences of their parents when they were raised in the same household by the same two parents or by the same one parent. And the reason why one parent had one child had a great experience, as a sibling, and the other child had a terrible experience. The reason why one child ended up on the honor roll and the other child ended up on drugs is because as children, as parents, we evolve. And so when we give birth to one child, right, that child got a different version of us. The other child that was born had another more improved version of us, hopefully. Unless the parents somehow descended and ended up on drugs after, you know what I'm saying? And then a third child, you may get a third child, and now that parent is on drugs. Now that parent had experienced something completely different than the first two children. And so that's what I mean by no two children are born from the same parents. We all have different parents, even though we were born from the same vagina, even though it's 6 of us, and even though we grew up in the same household. We got different versions of our parents. And that's why we are so different. That's why you get 3 people in the same household, 3 siblings, and they have 3 different versions of a mother. Like my 3 children have completely different versions of me. Not broadly different, but for the most part, they have different experiences with me. My son being the guinea pig, where I had to figure out how to be a parent, he got the worst version of me. The middle one, she got a mixed version of me. The third one, she got a better version of me. So they didn't have the same parents because they had different versions of me. That's what I mean. Annette said, I've seen those dynamic 1,000 times within families with gay members. Right. Angie Martin says that, and she's a subscriber. That makes sense. I have a better understanding of child-parent relationships. Right. And this is how I help heal my clients when they come to me, by giving them an understanding that life is just really a misunderstanding. It really is. It really is. It's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. And having this information gives you a better perspective of what possibly could have been going on with your parents. You see what I'm saying? And when you have a better or a wider perspective, and you're open to an alternative reality, alternative truth on your parents' end, then that prompts empathy for them. Then you're like, wait a minute. So now I understand. So now my mother didn't just hate me. She just, she didn't just favor them over me. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. When you have that first child or that second child, or whatever place you're in, because it's never really the 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th, and 8th, right? They're the spoiled ones, right? Them first few children. You may have the first child, right? And even still, this information, even though it's there, you still may have a hard time with your parent, because you still may feel resentful because then you say, well, how come when she got better, like with the 3rd or 4th child, why didn't she treat me better then? It's because the disconnect, when you're dealing with that first child and you're figuring it out, and you have a lot of trauma from that first child have a lot of trauma from you, and you have a lot of parental guilt from the parental malpractice, if there is such a thing as being a first-time parent, which is not, I'm just saying. By the time you get to the 3rd child, it's a disconnect. You may be more loving and may be more nurturing and hands-on with the 3rd or the 4th child. You may be more, but because you had a first child and you didn't know what the hell you was doing, and you had some anger issues, you might have had some drug or some addiction going on, or you may have not healed from your childhood trauma with your own parents. You was a bit mean. That keeps you guys from connecting on a more nurturing level. You have to find your way back to your child, your daughter, your son, and try to be more nurturing, because you were not used to being nurturing with that child, but these 3 you're nurturing with. You know what I'm saying? That child don't have that nurturing part. And because they never had it, it's hard to kind of get back to. So it's kind of like you have to reestablish your relationship with your child in order to get back to that nurturing part. Let me see what you're saying here. Angie Martin said, I love the nuggets you're dropping. Thank you. And Trisha Event said, life going to Lena. Your hair looks beautiful, so natural. Thank you. I kind of brushed it all out on them damn curls. Why does everyone think it's a wig? I'm loving this. That's live. I don't know what's in people's head, honey. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. And thank you. Believe it or not, I'm the oldest of 12 children. You can't tell me you didn't have it hard, child. And you all have different personalities, and you had it the worst. The first child is always the guinea pig. The first child is the test baby. You get the worst version of your parent. You get the worst version of your parents. Boys in the hood. So, if you guys have any questions, you let me know. But I hope this brought you guys some insight in regards to sibling rivalry, however you pronounce it. Angela says, my first child, I ran out the house because my brother scared me and left my child behind. And my brother had to remind me I had a child. Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord. It's hard. It's hard. Vicky Park says, my brother 15 years older than me, he put them in debt. My turn. They still in debt from him. Younger brother, 5 years younger. Their debt was good. So I understand the second child. This is healing for me. Delma, thank you so much for the Cash App. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You didn't have to do it, but you did it. And thank you so much for that. This is healing for you. I'm so happy, Vicky, this is healing for you. This is healing for you. Because life is always a misunderstanding, dear. It just is. Death is a misunderstanding. Tragedies are misunderstandings. If you can just wrap your mind around some of the concepts or some of the ideas or some of the probable realities that I offer you, then it'll help you heal. It'll help you heal. Now I'm freezing. Hold on, guys. You felt some kind of way? Of course. I'm sure my three older siblings felt some kind of way, especially since I was kind of spoiled. You know, they got the whippings. I didn't. I didn't get whippings since I was older. Because I was a damn brat when I got older. But yeah, imagine that. You know, well, why didn't she get whippings? Why? And especially my two younger brothers, they didn't get anything. They didn't get touched. Thelma said, "You're welcome. Thank you so much, Thelma. I appreciate it. I appreciate it." So, guys, that will conclude my session for today. I just wanted to give you guys, oh, thank you, Vicky. I just wanted to give you guys something to think about. As you can see, wait, for YouTube, something to think about. Facebook, something to think about. Hey, Jerry. I think it was needful. It was helpful. May those who have ears to hear, hear. Hoping this message will lessen the blows of your upbringing and help you heal from some of your childhood trauma. Thank you, Annette. Some of your childhood trauma, just some of it. And so, guys, I'm going to go now. I don't know what I'll be talking about next, but it's already 4:19. You guys know I'd be tired as hell. I'd be like, yeah, I'm coming on later. I'm about to get in my pool. I'm going to do a couple of reels. And I'm going to start posting some things on YouTube. Thank you guys for showing up on YouTube and staying on YouTube. I appreciate it. For all you guys who have not, or from all of you who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Copy. I'm going to put the link in the comments on Facebook so you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really would appreciate it. Subscribing is free. Thank you. Do the same, Angela. Daphne, I missed you today. I have to watch the replay. Yes, Daphne, it was very informative. Very, very informative. Thanks for sharing with us because I learned a lot from listening to you. Have a blessed day. Well, thank you. That my purpose have been filled. Audrey, have a good day. Annette says, have a good day, everyone. Sofrito ingredients. I did a live yesterday, Jerry, last night, and we made sofrito, and I said it all in there. So you have to go and look at the live. Okay, it wasn't a long live, but the sofrito, I made the sofrito right online, up in your face. I made the sofrito, and I even packaged the jars. Thank you, Daphne. I'm definitely going to enjoy my pool. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Debster. Love you. Debster, Lanya got bit in the eye from a bee. I told her she should have had the hat you bought her on. She didn't have the hat on. Okay, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much, my YouTube family. Jerry, please go to my Facebook. The recipe is right up there. Okay? Have a good one.